This video was sponsored by Surfshark VPN. When it comes to Gundam plastic model kits, there's a lot of different lines out there, but none has gone through quite the amount of changes in such a short amount of time than Real Grade. This line started in 2010 and since its inception 10 years ago has gone from ridiculously intricate small scale yet fragile model kits with a pre-molded internal skeleton. Now 10 years later, every single release is more like a small master grade, still with the same amount of crazy detail, but not as fragile as they once were. So a lot of the times you guys ask me about different Real Grade kits, which are good, which are bad, and I could make a best and worst list, but I decided to do something a little bit different. This is my top 5 favorites and least favorite Real Grade kits. So this is definitely more of a subjective list than what I would usually do. For example, you will not see the Real Grade Unicorn or Crossbone on here, even though both of those are fantastic and awesome kits. But for me, I actually prefer other kits, which technically would not be as good. And when it comes to the least favorite end of the spectrum, once again, these are just my personal least favorite kits. Just something for you to base your purchases on. And if you've got a bunch of Real Grades, even if it's just 1, 2, or every single one of them, drop your favorites and least favorites down there in the comments so other people can check them out and maybe help them make a decision on what they want to get next. But anyway, let's get right into it. So coming in at number 5 in my least favorite Real Grade kits is the Zaku. So I've never actually built the standard version of the Zaku or the Char's version of the Zaku, so I can't really comment on those too much, but I assume they share a lot in common with the high mobility one I'm about to talk about. So that would be the Johnny Ryden's version and the Eric Mansfield's version. So those are the two I built, and I didn't really like either of them. They're fine kits, they're very detailed, they do look beautiful as Real Grades do, but they're just so loose. I've lost the chest parts in both of them while reviewing them. And just in general, there's too many small, bitty, droppy parts, and they've just loosened up entirely. Once again, they are beautiful, it's just they're, well, not fun, and that's what I don't like about them. And when it does come to the ridiculously detailed level that Real Grade kits tend to have, I find these are at the arse end of the spectrum of that. They're okay looking, just not that mind-blowing looking. Now moving on. At number 5 in my top favorite Real Grade kits, that would be the Real Grade Gundam Quanta. So what's funny about this is, the 00 Quanta is not my favorite Setsuna FCA suit. That would be Exia, it always has and probably always will be. But for some reason when it comes to model kits and that comes to the Real Grade as well, the Quanta always seems to hold up the best. I'm not sure if it's something that's just intrinsically built into its design, but it just seems to work out well in model kit form all of the time. I love the Master Grade, and I love the Real Grade. It's solid, it's simple, and that's what is great about it, and it still looks Real Grade perfect. We've got lots of nice, clear green effect parts everywhere, and sure that shield can be a little bit of a pain in the butt at times, but I adore it. It just looks and feels so good, it's the full package. When compared to something like the Exia and the 00, I find the Exia is the way Exia tends to be, a little bit on the loose side, just once again like the Master Grade. Not quite as bad as the Master Grade, but it just doesn't hold up as well. I've built 3 different variants of the Real Grade Exia, and each time it's okay, just not fantastic. Once again, a little bit likely to fall apart. The 00 is fantastic too, but I always find it's a bit back heavy. Once again, a little too busy at times. Still an absolutely fantastic kit, second in line to the Quanta to me when it comes to favorite 00 kit that is a Real Grade, but out of the 3 of them, it has to be the Quanta. It's just the perfect mashup between the 00 and Exia, and the kit just holds up so nicely. Always a joy to play around with, poses great, and looks fantastic all of the time. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a gremlin was hacking on a cheap Amazon mouse. The doggos were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of native advertising danced in their heads. And Rin and her reindeer spook in his sweater. Many VPNs exist, but Surfshark is better. Up in their brains they were dreaming again of the ultimate question, what is a VPN? The internet is dark with threats of malware infection. Protect privacy and data with a secure connection. Rin has Surfshark, a VPN as good as it gets, encrypting her data, securing crypto assets. Spooky is cunning, has dodgy malware, but she laughs in his face, safe in her armchair. This gremlin will stoop low to make claim of his prize. Even his own furry buttocks he will advertise. When it comes to clean web, no ad is exempt. Surf in a clean cyber ocean with no phishing attempts. Keep changing location with multi-hop. Your confidential net browsing, no gremlin will stop. They will never find you, your location stays private, even if you're a wanton, torrenting pirate. Can this be true? Surfshark's staggering prices. And yes, that includes unlimited devices. Stay safe online, protect your identity. Get 84% off and 4 extra months free.
Use the code Mecha, link in the description.
Moving on to number 4 of my least favorite real grade kits, and that is the Amatsumina. You might be a little bit shocked by this because it is an awesome kit, but once again, it's just too busy for my own personal tastes. And you'll probably see a bit of a theme here. Busy gunpla equals lots of parts to fall off, lots of parts to loosen up, and lots of parts to get lost or in the way of cool poses. I just feel it isn't solid enough for how much it's packing in. At the same time, the gold on this is that metallic injection gold. To me, this looks too cheap for a real grade. It just doesn't look premium like every other aspect. The gloss black looks awesome, the red looks great with that. That cheap gold just brings the whole thing down. But it's not really the gold, I can get past that. That's not really what bothers me about this. Once again, it's just that it's too busy with a lot of small, fragile parts. If you like that sort of thing, you'll love this, but if you want something solid and holds up to a bit of play, something for taking some nice shots of, cool video, photo, etc., then this may not be what you're looking for. Basically, if you don't like too many bits, it will drive you mad. So moving on to number 4 of my favorite real grade kits, and that is Sazabi. It goes without saying why I like this. It's huge, it's so detailed, it's awesome, and it's solid. Just be careful of those shoulders. Everything about this is awesome. The glare, the detail, vents in the chest, the armor is separated in such a cool way, and they've taken a really iconic Char's mobile suit and given it the attention it deserves. Compared to the Zaku, this thing is an absolute visual and technical masterpiece. When it comes to a toss-up between this real grade and the master grade Verka, I even prefer the real grade. Sure, I do think the master grade looks better up on a shelf, it's got a lot more shelf presence and will definitely impress with its hulking monolithic mass, but there's something about this one that I prefer. I think because it's small scale and so much detail is crammed into something that is so small, model kit wise, this is a technical marvel. And honestly, when it does come to Zeon suits in real grade, this is the best of the bunch. Well, there is the Zeong as well, I haven't seen that just yet. But if you want a real grade, red, bad guy Gundam, debatable whether or not he's a bad guy, then this is the one that you want. At number 3 of real grade kits that I'm not the biggest fan of is the real grade Zephyranthes. So, I really dislike this kit, so much so that I didn't even bother building the full burner, which I bought on the exact same day. And this kit has a problem that I've seen mar many mobile suits all the way back to the Master Grade Victory Gundam Verka, and that is the fact that the transformation aspect of this kit completely undermines the mobile suit mode. So it means it's not a good transforming kit, and it's not a good mobile suit. So I feel it doesn't really do anything all that well. It can barely even hold on to its beam rifle. This is another one of those kits that I feel like should have been in the planning phase a little bit longer. It's very close to being extremely good, it just doesn't get there. So that means, for me, it's just not a fun transformation and it's not a fun mobile suit, so it misses both marks completely. Which is a huge disappointment because the Stardust memory designs are absolutely mind-blowingly cool that this could have been so awesome, especially if it was designed with modern real grade technology. Once again, just a blatant disappointment. So coming in at number 3 of the real grade kits that I love and adore is the real grade Force Impulse Gundam. I knew with this kit right here that the new mini master grade style real grades were here to stay, and that's why I had to come up with the new platinum tier. And I will mention here that if I could go back in time, the Crossbone Gundam would have been platinum tier 2. These are like mini master grades, and the level of detail, technology, and different impressive aspects crammed into these kits is off the charts. This thing has all the exterior detail that we've come to know and love when it comes to real grade kits, but now it's got a solid internal skeleton that will stand up to the test of time, and actually will stand up, which is a good thing, because all my other seed kits just drop over, fall over all of the time. And repicking them up every second day or so can get a little bit old. This is what I want to see right here. The Force Impulse really is the full package. This is a standard style Gundam. It looks so good, comes with a ton of awesome accessories, each one with the same level of care put into them as the mobile suit itself, and it poses fantastically. This thing is impressive. This and the Crossbone are great. I highly recommend both of them. This is just my personal favorite out of the two. Now into the top 2 of the kits that I'm not particularly the biggest fan of, and this one you might remember. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know this one didn't go so well. This, of course, is the real grade Sinanju. Fuck's sake. Next, as for the leg, there it is kicking all the way up to the never mind. That can then move all the way oh for fuck's sake. Fuck you! Which is a real disappointment because I adore the Sinanju, especially the red version. That classic full frontal Sinanju blows my mind with its awesome looks, and the fact that the gold was going to be in gold on this made it seem like this was going to be the perfect real grade, which it wasn't. This kit reused the inner frame of the real grade Gundam Mark II, which was great in Gundam Mark II, but this kit was too much for that frame to handle. To me, Full Frontal's version of the Sinanju has really gotten the short end of the stick. The real grade is not good, and I found the master grade Verka wasn't good either. I don't know what they were doing with master grades back when that came out, but it's made out of the worst brittle plastic that I broke 2 waist joints on it. 2! Not 1! 2! The original and the replacement. But as for this kit, it's just a mess. I'm sure if you put a lot of effort into it while building it, it could be a very awesome kit, but out of the box, it just does not hold together. I have to say, if I was going to make a list of kits that disappointed me the most, that I went into super excited and then got really let down, this would be up there near the top, that's for sure. And speaking of that particular Mark II inner frame, this is where it belongs, at the number 2 spot inside of the real grade Gundam Mark II. So once again, like I mentioned, this isn't a list of the best kits, this is a list of my own personal favorites, because without a doubt, this isn't one of the best kits. This isn't as good as the Impulse, it's not as good as the Crossbone, it's not as good as Sazabi, but I still absolutely adore it. For me, this has stood up so well. Literally, it stands up perfectly, all of the time. A lot of my older real grades have loosened up a lot over the years, especially the early ones, but for some reason this one has held up so well. I'm not necessarily sure why, if I'm just lucky, if this kit is actually that good, but this is the one that made me love real grade. I did build a couple before this and wasn't so keen on them, but this, to this day, still impresses me. Actually, I'm gonna have to make this one really short because I don't have a review of this to use footage of, so all I'll say is, I think it's the fact that it's a small standard Gundam with no real tiny finicky fall off bits is why it's so good. I love it. If you don't have one, get one. So on to my least favorite real grade, and I'm sure a lot of you agree. This is the real grade Zeta Gundam. This thing is so bad. I can see what they're trying to do here, and again, this is one of my biggest complaints when it comes to gunpla. The transformation has undermined the mobile suit. So the transformation isn't good, the mobile suit isn't good, and this thing has aged so badly. There's not many kits in my collection that I'm terrified of touching. I mean, if I actually grab it, it will disintegrate. It is that bad. And then when I tried to put it back together, it still falls apart. This even fell apart when it was just a fresh build. It's just so poorly designed. I know they tried hard. If it was remade as a Real Grade 2.0, I'm sure it would rock, but the technology just didn't seem to be there at the time. On the off chance, in case you're curious as to the other kits in my collection that I'm terrified of touching in case they'll fall apart, there's the Real Grade Zeta that I just mentioned, the High Resolution Gundam Barbatos, the Master Grade Unicorn Perfectibility, and the Reborn 100 Hama Hama, all of which I just need to look at for them to slightly fall apart. I don't know, maybe someday I should just disassemble this and glue it all back together in a fixed pose just to get rid of those constant potential shelf nightmares. So you've probably guessed it by now, but my number one Real Grade kit of all time is the Real Grade New Gundam. There's just something so regal looking about this kit. I have it up on my shelf just in front of my editing desk, right beside the Real Grade Sazabi. They're a pair made in heaven. They both are the ultimate perfect packages, but the New Gundam to me is just that little bit better, and that's probably just because it's a Gundam, and a fine looking Gundam at that. The only real negative point about this is I find it will fall backwards a lot of the time because of the big ol' wing, but besides that, this thing just blows my mind. The articulation is great, visually it is stunning, and just every aspect about this kit is awesome. So if for some reason or another you've never built yourself a Real Grade New Gundam, I highly recommend that you do. Whether you're a beginner or you've never built a Gundam kit before, this is an awesome place to start because it is so impressive. If you've been building gunpla for years, pro level, but for some reason have never gotten around to building this, still I say go for it, it is so impressive. Without a doubt, one of my favorite ever Gundam model kits, and I've built one or two. So yeah, that is it for the list. Let me know down there in the comments what did you think, and what is your top favorite and least favorite Real Grade kits. We've got a bunch of exciting looking Real Grades coming up this year, including the Zeong, Wing TV version, and the one I'm the most excited about, of course, is the High New Gundam. Hopefully that's just as good, if not better, than the New Gundam right here. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla news, reviews, and occasional top 5s and 10s, and I'll see you next time. Once again, I cannot finish this video right here without thanking each and every one of you guys. Whether you just watch my videos, like them, or support the channel on the channel memberships and over on Patreon. Like Craig Jerry, Greg Humphrey, Kaiser721, Tyler Sanders, Caleb Engelhardt, Sean T, and the ambassador for asymmetric cats.